I'm completely thrilled with it.
That's probably the most terrifying thought I could have about AI.
I think there are great things coming.
I'm still not sure fully if it's really intelligence.
AI is going to wake up one day and decide it doesn't need humans.
I think it comes down to who's using them.
There's no real AI. Artificial intelligence does not exist.
Replacing the creative as a whole is very scary.
It is here and there is no going back. It's like the atomic revolution.
We've already been taught the lesson. We've seen it already.
How can we turn that into a productive conversation instead of one that is like a spiral of negativity?
I don't see it controlling us without somebody behind the wheel.
I don't think it will ever intentionally just be evil for the sake of being evil.
Again, together Matt and Stephanie bring a wealth of experience and insight to today's topic. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage as we begin our exploration of the opportunities and challenges at the cutting edge of AI in film. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt and Stephanie. So, you're good? We're good. Very good. Stephanie, how did transitioning from analog performance to digital technology prepare you for incorporating AI into your creative work? Let's start with that.
Okay, let's go back to the future now. I started very, very early. Who of you remembers the Commodore C64? Yes. This is my starting point with computers. So my dad owned one. And if I wanted to use it, I had to put my hands on it. I had to be curious, and I had to figure out like how to get this thing working. And there were no such tools as YouTube tutorials, and I had like 3 options: figuring out myself, ask a friend who is like into computers, or read a very boring hand manual, so a handbook. In the end, I was like curious. I chose the curious way, and this kind of accompanied me until today. And when AI came along, or machine learning, it felt exactly the same like back in the days when the internet came. The home computer, personal home computers were kind of standing in our living rooms. And I was like, okay, it's kind of the same. I did it before. Let's do it again. So I stayed curious, and I put my hands on. And since a couple of years, I'm just like exploring this new field.
Excellent. Yeah, let's just start with Matt at this point. So how have your Silicon Valley roots and your time at the Polish National Film School shaped your perspective on AI and filmmaking?
Let's see. I'm from Silicon Valley, and that is, on one hand, important. On another hand, it's irrelevant. And I'll say this because, there is a ethos in Silicon Valley of just being disruptive, of basically like breaking rules, and what came before, it doesn't matter, and we are here to reinvent this. And this is something that is, I think, part of the place. I mean, literally, the gold rush happened. People came to Silicon Valley, to California, in 1849, 49ers. Right, that comes from this idea that we're going to reinvent this place, we're going to create riches. So that's something that's in me, and to some degree. And then I went to the Polish Film School, where it's like, that doesn't matter. We don't care where you're from. We don't care about this thinking. There's a history, there's a tradition, and the tradition is what matters, and this is all that we should focus on. And so here you have this total clash, and my mind is like, wait, what am I supposed to do here? But in that disruptive kind of conflict, I think interesting ideas come. And so my mission, and I see AI as this perfect unity of these two things. We're artists, we're trying to tell stories. Simultaneously, there's a new technology that we must utilize, and so we have to find this blend.
I find that with AI, it's a reflection of us, and we can choose to do what we want with it. But as artists, we must understand the past, and we must also embrace the future. And it's kind of contradictory and paradoxical, but I think there is something special in that. And so that's what I'm focusing on, and I am here to tell you to also focus on it. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace the paradox. And I'll leave it there for now.
But that was disruptive, wasn't it? Interrupting and disruptive first part of the discussion, which is good. But it's very funny. So we've got you from Austria with the Commodore C64 and Silicon Valley fighting each other in Berlin. It's really fusion, I would say. So, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more about Human Future. What inspired its creation, and what do you hope the audience will take away from it?
Great. So, what you saw there was AI-generated images on top of interviews that we shot in Silicon Valley and Los Angeles in August, September. So I went with a friend and creative partner, Rafał Salski. He has an ad agency that I often work with. And we thought, like, let's figure this thing out. Let's dive into AI and let's go to California, where I'm from, and let's talk to people about it. And so we asked 3 simple questions. Who are you? What do you want? What are you scared of? And what are you excited about in terms of AI? And everybody had very different responses. And what's interesting, it's almost like we're not really talking about AI when we're talking about AI. We're talking about the human condition, the thing that we are experiencing ourselves. And everybody is seeing themselves in this AI, which then I realized, wow, that's kind of like what art and cinema does. It's a reflection. And so obviously there is a real technology, but it's like this is an opportunity to really look at ourselves and ask big questions and confront ourselves. And then at the same time, I met this amazing community of AI filmmakers. Some of the filmmakers are here. There's Verena. She's one of the people that I reconnected with in the AI cinema space. And I discovered this really collaborative, amazing group of people, group of artists who are, some are old school, some are new school, some are now, well, the AI cinema folks are now bridging it all together. And it's not that common in Europe as much as it is there. And so now we're bringing it here. And the insights that I got from that whole documentary shoot, I'm speaking about and implementing in the Polish industry. And then I find folks like Adrian and the folks here, Stephanie as well. And now we're basically people on a mission. So that's the big takeaway. We're on a mission and we're here to tell you about what's happening. So I hope that answers your question.
It's great because film is a small community anyway, so a lot of people working within our industry know each other for years or in several projects, but the AI community is even smaller. And I feel there's a huge international exchange and a lot of shared information, shared experiences. To both of you, so what do you think is the most or the biggest opportunity in collaborating between Europe and the US and maybe to the whole international community in AI and film?
Let me take this. What I experience in Europe is like everybody is sitting at home in front of the computer and silently trying what AI can do or what they can do with all those tools. Barely the people are sharing what they figure out. It's like very little people, either they're like hardcore influencers who like giving workshops and tutorials and stuff like that. But the major storytellers, the ones who are really working in the film production, are very, very hesitating to release what they're doing. It's like a very, very soft access to it, probably because we also have like the AI Act, so we have a lot of regulations, we have rules, we are not sure what can we do, what can we not do, what are we allowed to do. And I think like, because we talked about this before, there is in the US, there's like people already collaborating, and in Europe we are all a little bit left behind. And so what I started with a couple of years ago was already like trying to catch the people working in the AI in art and figure out like, okay, what are you doing with this technology? What can we do? What is this thing able to do, and what can we create with it? And instead of being scared and having a lot of fear out of this new things that are coming up, I was like more curious. And then I found like a lot of very, very interesting people who already implemented all this. It's not like using those AI tools, but also like making their own machine learning systems and trying to figure out like, okay, what are the boundaries and how can we implement it afterwards into the creative industries? Because in the end, we have to work on a project and we have to sell it as well, and we want to still tell stories. And what I figured out, like, Europe has a huge history. What you said, like, okay, there's like this, we're sitting on the shoulders of giants, and we are the ones who can kind of implement those tools, use it, and tell the stories. And I think the big part in Europe is like the storytelling. And if we focus on that, because everything else, like developing our own systems, will take some time, and I think we're getting them properly in the future, but for now it's like we have to experience it, and as Matt said, like, okay, use it, have fun with it, and be curious and tell the stories. And I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think the storytelling aspect is still very important as well as all the AI opportunities you have, but the human creation is still one point.
Absolutely. I mean, I figured out like some of the people try to automate processes, like creating social media content and creating systems where everything is kind of getting the information from online sources and whatever, and trying to make an automation system behind it. Then it's completely left to the AI and to the generative AI systems, and I'm like, yeah, well, then I'm missing the soul point and the feelings. And when I do the AI work and when I work with my stories, it's like, so it needs my human aspect, because I'm the one who feels, I'm the one who is scared, and I'm the one with the emotions, and the machine cannot do that. So this is like, from my point of view, it's a very, very human needed art that is coming up. And in the end, it's a technology that we can use and make accessible to express what we feel. And I think your documentary is about that. It's about the emotion and what's stand behind.
Yeah, this kind of just came to mind, actually, and where so often in the traditional film industry, the process, the many people involved, the pre-production, the production, post-production, it's like there's so much involved in each aspect that it kind of takes over and becomes the main thing. And we almost like forget to, focus on the story. And it's, and with AI cinema, it's like, it's just the story, and in a way that you don't need the big system to get the story from the kernel, from the spark that begins, to the audience. It's like now the algorithm, whether it's you're starting with LLMs and you're writing your script, down to the prompting of the images or the videos, it's like the input, the nuances of the input are the steps to the final product. And though a word, your intention with the word can actually be interpreted by the AI. So it's like now there isn't a whole massive system that's interpreting, all these different people in these different departments that need to interpret the original concept, which is in itself a beautiful process, except now it's like, it's more immediate. It's like straight from the source via the algorithm, via the AI, boom, out comes an image. This is a magical, it's a different process, really. So we must understand that it's a different process. It's not a scary process, maybe for some, but it's just a different process. And it's a different way of interacting with the process, which is very exciting. So I highly encourage you folks that haven't maybe yet gone into AI or prompted yourself. And if you don't even prompt yourself, it's good to understand that process. Because it's also a creative healing process. Without the human, like Stephanie was saying, you don't get an output. So it's very exciting, and I'm so glad that you're all here to learn about this, because I've been wanting to talk about it.
That's great. But what do you think? Obviously, you have tools, especially like LTX Studio, which helps you from the first idea to get very fast forward, very good impression of how it could look like at the very far end. But is your experience with the AI tools you're using, is it the goal to really reach to the whole Gen AI generated cinema movie with everything on screen generated purely by AI with no post-production because you just prompt it and then you have the final result? Or is it more a supportive tool of the whole process to getting there?
I'm working on doing everything on my own. Because I'm the late night one, the 24/7. So at 3:00 in the morning, I have the sparkling idea, and it needs to get out and it needs to be realized. And so the AI tool became like my companion, kind of, who never sleeps and who's like never angry, who's never like annoyed by my inputs, and I can try and go further with my ideas on that what I'm having. A couple of years ago, before the pandemic hit us, I had a film production company. So I know like the whole process, like what it means to set up a project, to produce, to produce itself, and the post-production, and all those, a lot of steps that are coming in the game, as you said before, like, so it's like the focus is more on the production-wise than on the story. And right now I experience like, so I don't need that anymore. I can really focus on the images, I can really focus on the story and what I want to express, and see like, how far can I get with the technology right now? And when I started dealing with AI, it was in 2018. So I was like, okay, I can text to image prompt. And back in the days, it was just like, I prompted horses and cars, and it was like brownish and gray colors. And I was like, oh, wow. So the machine understands, and it generates based on what I put it. And my bet was like, okay, well, probably in the future, we can generate images, probably better or worse. And hopefully we can kind of get rid of this animation stuff that I was working in animation too, so like After Effects, I'm teaching it, and it's like very, very slow process, and you have to be very precise, and you have to be patient. I'm not so patient at all sometimes, and I want to see the result very quickly because it's in my head already, and it takes me so long to finalize the output. And right now it's just like, okay, it makes so much fun to get back into this kind of visualizing my ideas and to see it immediately, and to, as we said before, like focus on the story and say like, okay, the story is really in the foreground. So telling a story from different perspectives was impossible in the past.
So
and right now it's like, okay,
alternative thinking and alternatives,
exactly.
Right? This is something you share on D'Avantgarde as well. Is this some kind of your mission?
Yeah, D'Avantgarde, it's written #Avantgarde, like the digital is looking the digital is looking for the avant-garde. It's like about new technology, art and creativity. So what we are looking for is like people who are having like using AI technologies or other technologies, VR, XR, whatever, to find new expressions and find the limits and the borders, and to see like what can we do with it, because we are very new in this field. There's like, we are all explorers somehow. We have to navigate through it, and we have to learn from each other, like, how do you use it actually? Do you have some tips that I can use for my prompting and for my thing? So this collective is aiming for the collaboration in the end, and an exchange of ideas and information, and how we utilize these tools, and to find some ways to navigate it in the future, because I think this is a huge wave that's coming and hitting us, and if we don't deal with it right now, yeah, we're gonna drown in a big ocean.
Absolutely. So I think collaboration is really very important. And what do you think? What can European-based companies, creators learn? Which lesson can they learn from a human future? What is really a takeaway for them? What the next practical step is?
Sure. So what's interesting is that there is this grassroots movement happening from the ground. There's big technology, big tech is creating tools, but it's beginning on the ground. And now the question is, how do big industries meet this, kind of wave of technology? And it's not, yes, while one person can make a film, prompting, and there have been a few experiments out there, now it's like, how do we implement the workflows? And so, we need to have more than just one person, because that's not an industry, right? If one person's prompting. So it's like now it's about educating everybody about these tools, about the nuances of the tools, about the process. How does the human element fit into the algorithm? And so, for instance, now it's like on various commercials that I've worked on Back to a Human Future, you know, it's like the goal was not to just make a film by ourselves, even though there was a small team of people. It's like we want to make a hybrid production. So we're even working with another ad agency that's like specialist in AI, GPT Journey. They're in Turkey, they're in Istanbul. They helped us prompt a few of these images. And so now it's like, how can we creative, I mean, this is part of my role, creative direct teams of people that have different specialties with different tools to, you know, efficiently make a film. And it's so new. It's that the crazy thing is that there are people that are doing it all around the world, but it's literally like less than, you know, a few hundreds maybe. And it's like there's no, going back to this idea of you know, like California, Silicon Valley versus kind of a maybe European way. It's the way hasn't been written yet. So we are now developing the way. And this is a word that keeps coming up, like the workflows. How do we establish the workflows? Well, it's like we are doing it, and now every single producer, every single company has a part in this, in creating this. Like, well, one thing I'll say is, like every project has its own workflow. Actually, it doesn't necessarily. The tools are advancing so quickly that also we need to adjust with the technology on every project. It's not like, you know, you guys are going to get information and you go out and you're like, okay, I know this thing. It's like now we have to be keeping our finger on the pulse every week because of moving towards, right? Yeah. So just to finish that thought, it's this is a very much an unknown ahead of us, but ultimately the human element is what needs to be the main driver, the main focus. And now a whole industry has to kind of wrap around these tools, the story, and figure out how to tell a movie. And so we're doing that, and this is one of our projects, A Human Future.
That's great. So I think, yeah, we could talk.
I know, so much to say
for hours, which is the good news. So you can do that.
And there's so many great presentations and conversations.
But there will be the opportunity to exchange thoughts and experience with you guys, one-to-one, face-to-face, during the networking afterwards. So, Matt and Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing and inspiring.